Okay, I'm going to make this video kind of show what I've always kind of wanted to do is make a batch of biodiesel. I've been saving the regular cooking oil for quite a while now. About 10 gallons of used cooking oil, and I figured, okay, this is a better time than ever to try those, make a batch of biodiesel using some of the techniques I've seen and watched on the web. So I figured I'd make my own video and have my own experiment. So basically what I started off with was vegetable oil, used vegetable oil I just save it into plastic jugs or 2-liter bottles. So what they say, what they recommend, and what I did was this. I first warmed up the oil. I'm doing a 1 liter batch at a time, just because this is a experimental test batch. So I did 1 liter, got it up to 160 degrees, which boiled off all the water that would be in the oil. It would have popped and snapped. My oil was pretty water free, so it just warmed it up, so it's going to be more useful to me to use. And my next step is going to be, I'm going to transfer this 1 liter into my batch container that I'm going to use for boiling this. The other 2 components to use for this test to make biodiesel is lye, 100% lye, and then what you need is methyl alcohol. And the best way to get this for just the small batches is just to buy these little containers of heat. You'll need the parts for 1 liter of oil. You'll need 1 cup of the methyl alcohol and half a teaspoon of the lye. So I'll mix that up so that I get ready here. Okay, so this is part of my setup. I'm using the 2-liter regular Coke bottles as my mixing and brewing basically containers. I have one here. This is my oil, my used oil, warmed up. I let it cool down a little bit so it doesn't melt the plastic. For a lid, for this purposes, I just use a regular old water valve that I drilled a hole into and screwed into the cap. It doesn't seem to leak. And for the second portion of my biodiesel brew is another 2-liter bottle that I cut the top off, or the bottom off it, and we'll see that in a later portion of this. So anyway, I put the methyl alcohol, 1 cup, into a glass container. I'm using glass because it seemed to be better protected, because supposedly this operation created some heat, but when I did the first test, it didn't really do much heat. So, but I figured it's safe to do it with this glass. So anyway, that's a half teaspoon. So just kind of sprinkle it in there. And put this aside so it's out of the way here. And you can see it's sitting on the bottom in there, and then right in the dead center of it. So I keep telling you, just swirl it, swirl it, swirl it, and it'll just kind of like sugar and water. It'll eventually go into the solution, the lye will, and this creates. I forgot the name of the mixture, but it's a methyl. Oh, what is it called? I got a piece of paper here. There's my notes on it. It's called methyl oxide. What this is, it does create a gas, kind of poisonous if you don't have a well-ventilated area. Well, I'm out in the garage. It's pretty ventilated out here. Got a breeze going through. I'm worried about it. I'll open up the garage door and let even more out. So, for my purposes, I will sit there and move this around for 10 minutes and get it all mixed up. And when it's all mixed up, then I will add it to my oil, and we'll see that in a second. Okay, well, it's been about 10 minutes. I've got it good mixed up. And you can see that the solution gets kind of a milky haze to it when this stuff is kind of mixed into it. But it's all into it. It's all diluted into the methyl oxide. Methane. Basically, it's methane oxide now. So I'm going to now add this into my oil solution here and start the process. Just pour it on in there. You can kind of tell the oil turned from this coffee maroon looking thing and it starts to turn a little hazy. I'll get the cap out of there. Now we're going to put a cap on it. Now this oil, this stuff is now going to start heating up and mixing and start brewing. So I got to seal this and I got to shake it real good. So I put a regular cap on it. I'm going to shake it. It gets really warm. I'm going to release some of the pressure and shake it some more. Good mixed up inside there. It's let it start eating at that oil. I say eating, it's probably not the right term for it, but that's what I use for it. It just seems like that's what it does. You can see it's really turned really milky now. Keep on shaking it up. Get it good and shook up really good. I want it good mixed in there with that oil. Bleed it off again. Like that. So I'll take this regular cap off now. Got the mix done, I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to put my screw cap on here. Get it on there nice and tight. I'll check it again with 2 hands after this, but put it on nice and tight. Now for sakes, I'm going to leave it open and let it relieve its pressure for a good hour. I'm going to let it sit there, and it will. If I seal this thing down, the Coke bottle starts to really puff out. It gets to its pressure in there from this chemical reaction going on with the oil and the methoxide going on in there. So I leave this open, let it breathe, and I'll come back in about an hour, and I'll show you, and I'll tighten the sucker up, and I'll show you the next process. I'll even show you it's already started its process. You can kind of see in the bottom. I don't see if it's light too well, but it's already started to segregate the oil out. So okay, so I'll be back in a minute. Okay, well, it's pretty well done generating the gases out of it now. So I'm going to tighten this down, get it nice and tight so it's closed off like that. I made darn sure it's sealed up nice and tight because you don't want it leaking out all over the place. And I use the same glass bottle here for doing this. We'll turn this over. I'll stick the valve and everything down in the bottle. Move it back here so it's resting against my toolbox here. And there it'll sit. I'll let this sit and do its job for 24 hours. I'll come back tomorrow night and it'll have done its business in here, and then we'll start the washing process. So I'll talk to you later. Okay, so here we are, the next step. We've had ample time for the biodiesel to go through its separation. You can see clearly the difference in color here. The very dark brown is the glycerin that has settled out of the now biodiesel up top. I have to just open the cock on here, drain out the glycerin off the bottom, and I would be left out with just the biodiesel. I could actually burn that if I really wanted to, throw it in the back, throw it in my truck, and it would go. So, but the next step, like I said, is to siphon off the bottom of this bottle that glycerin. So I will just put it over this bottle. See if I can do it one-handed here. It's kind of difficult, so I might just have to do it here. Hold on. Okay, so I got her open, and it's draining the glycerin off the bottom. I'm just putting it straight into the mason jar here. I'll collect the glycerin. I'll get rid of it later because I'm not going to do anything with the glycerin, but you can make soaps, I heard, out of it and other things, but I'll just get rid of it. So, see, it's going down the bottom. And it's down to the neck. And this is the change. Oh, there it goes. And there, we left off with one full bottle of, well, not really a full bottle, but basically a whole liter of biodiesel. So I will turn this thing over, and you'll see the bottle kind of collapsed in on itself, but I'll just open it up, let it open up, pop out these dents there, and there we are. Now we're ready for the next stage, which is washing.